Kyle Nelson believes that Ilia Topuria could face one of his toughest challenges yet if he ever steps into the octagon with Arman Tsarukyan. Fresh off a big win over Matt Frevola at UFC Vancouver, the Canadian lightweight weighed in on how the reigning UFC lightweight champion might fare against one of the division's most dangerous contenders. Nelson, who has shared the cage with several notable opponents connected to both fighters, has a unique perspective. Frevola, whom he just defeated, is a former opponent of Tsarukyan, while Nelson himself has fought Jai Herbert, one of the few fighters who managed to give Topuria a competitive bout before the Georgian-Spanish star surged into superstardom. Those shared links made Nelson's assessment particularly interesting when he was asked about Topuria's reign at 155 pounds. Speaking to MMA Canada, Nelson praised Topuria's recent accomplishments, including his knockouts over elite fighters like Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski. "Ilia's been on a pretty good run," Nelson said, knocking out some people that you haven't seen knocked out, like Max Holloway, the Volkanovski fight. Again, I think everybody's kind of already said this, but it might have been a little bit too soon after the knockout. Despite that context, Nelson was quick to credit Topuria's skill set and overall dominance since joining the UFC. You can't deny his skill set. He's gone in there with guys like Bryce Mitchell, Ryan Hall, really great jiu-jitsu guys, and he's held his own. You haven't really seen him out-wrestled, you haven't seen him out-struck, so he's definitely, I think, we're going to see him sit at the top for a while. However, Nelson believes Tsarukyan might be the fighter capable of pushing Topuria to his limits. The biggest challenge I could see him running into might be someone like Arman, just like a big lightweight that might be able to put his weight on him. He explained that even in Topuria's tail-winning performance over Oliveira, there were moments when the size and physicality difference appeared to come into play. We saw against Oliveira when they were against the fence, it looked a little bit like maybe Oliveira had a little bit of size and strength on Topuria. Nelson suggested that a fighter like Tsarukyan, known for his relentless wrestling pressure and cardio, could test Topuria in ways no one else has. It'll be interesting to see somebody like Arman put Topuria in a position like that and see how he responds. But definitely, in the striking, I don't see anybody kind of putting together that same crisp, clean boxing with that knockout power. Topuria, who became the lightweight champion after an emphatic knockout win over Oliveira, has looked nearly unstoppable in his UFC run. With his unbeaten record and highlight reel performances, he's already cemented himself as one of the most complete fighters in the sport. Yet Tsarukyan's grappling-heavy style and natural size could present a new kind of problem, a test of Topuria's ability to handle sustained pressure from an elite-level wrestler. As both fighters sit near the top of one of the UFC's deepest divisions, a potential matchup between Topuria and Tsarukyan would not only settle a major question about Topuria's ceiling at lightweight, but could also determine the next true era of dominance in the sport.
Melissa Crowden believes that Canada is on the verge of a major resurgence in mixed martial arts following her successful UFC debut and a wave of impressive performances from fellow Canadians at UFC Vancouver. The event marked a standout night for Canadian fighters, with Mike Mallet, Ayman Zahabi, Kyle Nelson, and Charles Jourdain all securing big wins that reinvigorated national pride in the sport. For Crowden, the collective success of her compatriots feels like the spark that could reignite a new golden era for Canadian MMA, a movement reminiscent of the days when Georges St. Pierre and Rory MacDonald were carrying the flag for the country on the world stage. Speaking with MMA Canada, Crowden reflected on the growing momentum and the unique cultural energy fueling it.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I think I feel that way as well, she said when asked if Canada was entering a new boom period. Like, not to get political or anything, but I think Canada is weird in that way, where we're all passive and nice until we're not. We'll be passive for a while, and then we're like, okay, this is enough. She compared that energy to the Freedom Convoy moment in Canadian culture, describing how Canadians tend to tolerate and follow the rules until something flips and they collectively decide to push back. She sees that same shift happening in MMA, where Canadian fighters are finally asserting themselves after years of being overlooked. I think you're seeing that personality come out within the MMA world as well. It's funny to watch how different countries have their own cultures and personalities. Canada definitely has that passiveness, but until enough is enough, and I think what you pointed out is true for sure. She believes the recent string of victories is more than just coincidence. It's a reflection of a growing hunger among Canadian athletes to reclaim their place on the global stage. I think Canada is sick of having all these great fighters not getting signed. We're slowly rising up to the occasion to represent that, hey, we have athletes as well. There's not as many of us compared to the States, but there are some talented fighters here, and they deserve recognition and opportunities too. Croden's debut, combined with strong performances from veterans like Jourdain and Mallet, reinforces that message. Canadian fighters have long been respected for their toughness and technical ability, but in recent years the country's presence in the UFC had waned. Now, with new blood entering the scene and regional gyms like Niagara Top Team, TriStar, and Team Shred showing signs of resurgence, Croden's words resonate as both an observation and a call to action. She represents a new wave of Canadian fighters who blend traditional grit with modern training sophistication. That combination, paired with a renewed sense of national pride, could lead to a renaissance for Canadian MMA in the years to come. For Croden, UFC Vancouver wasn't just a personal milestone, it was a collective statement that Canadian MMA is far from dormant and that the next era of great Canadian fighters is already here, ready to make its mark on the world stage.
Tom Aspinall's rise as the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion has not only solidified his place among the elite inside the octagon, but has also turned him into one of the sport's most marketable stars. Just days before his highly anticipated title defense against Tsarukyan at UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi, Aspinall has added another major accomplishment outside the cage, a lucrative sponsorship deal that further cements his growing influence in combat sports and beyond. As announced earlier today on the UFC's official Instagram page, Aspinall is now a drip water athlete. The post featured a slick promotional video showcasing the 6'5" champion, accompanied by the caption, "The water of sport meets the UFC heavyweight champion." The partnership marks another major milestone in Aspinall's expanding brand portfolio. Drip Water, a premium lifestyle water brand founded by British TV chef and musician Big Zoo in October 2023, has been on a rapid rise of its own. Earlier this year, the company secured a $5 million equity investment from Raya Holding, boosting its valuation to $125 million and expanding its presence across the Middle East, the same region where Aspinall will defend his title this weekend. The timing of the announcement seems deliberate. With Fight Week underway in Abu Dhabi, the partnership aligns perfectly with Aspinall's growing global visibility. The deal is not an isolated move either. It's part of a broader trend in Aspinall's career as he continues to attract high-profile sponsors eager to align with UFC's newest heavyweight superstar. Over the past year, he has built an impressive sponsorship portfolio that reflects both his athletic dominance and his appeal outside of fighting. In March, Aspinall became an ambassador for SPRIBE, a software developer specializing in online casino gaming technology. He also joined forces with Ultra MMA, a charity-focused organization that blends combat sports with community-driven events, further showcasing his willingness to use his platform for positive impact. Additionally, he partnered with Beast Farm, a sports supplement brand co-developed by former World's Strongest Man Eddie Hall, reinforcing his connection to elite British athleticism. However, perhaps the most significant of all his partnerships so far came earlier this year when Aspinall signed a major collaboration with the iconic sportswear brand Champion. The launch in May included a campaign built around the aptly named Heavyweight Champion Apparel Capsule, a collection that merges performance functionality with everyday style. The design drew inspiration from Champion's century-long sportswear heritage, and it featured subtle details such as 00.02.02, a nod to Aspinall's average fight duration, a reminder of his efficiency and finishing prowess inside the cage. Speaking about the collaboration at the time, Aspinall said, "I'm thrilled to be partnering with Champion, a brand with global reach and deep roots in sport. Champion's values reflect who I am and what I want to do in MMA. I've always said I believe I can transcend the sport into the mainstream."
The sentiment encapsulates where Aspinall finds himself today, a fighter who not only represents the pinnacle of mixed martial arts competition, but also stands as a symbol of British athletic excellence and crossover appeal. With multiple sponsorships already secured and his first official title defense just around the corner, Aspinall is quickly becoming one of the UFC's most visible champions. His grounded personality, combined with his devastating skill set and articulate media presence, makes him a dream ambassador for brands looking to connect with both hardcore fight fans and mainstream audiences. Now, as he prepares to face Tsarukyan in what promises to be one of the biggest heavyweight bouts of the year, Tom Aspinall has positioned himself not just as the man to beat in the octagon, but as a leading figure in the UFC's next era of global superstardom. Whether defending his title, fronting major campaigns, or representing brands like Champion and Dripwater, Aspinall continues to prove that his success, much like his fighting style, is defined by precision, power, and purpose.
Max Holloway has made it crystal clear that no matter how many UFC veterans cross over into bare-knuckle fighting, he won't be one of them. The BMF champion, known for his elite striking and unmatched pace inside the octagon, has no desire to swap the gloves for bare fists once his UFC career winds down. While fighters like Mike Perry and Darren Till have embraced the brutal world of bare-knuckle combat, Holloway sees no appeal in it whatsoever. Perry has become the face of BKFC, with his violent highlight reel wins and intense persona, while Till recently reignited his fighting career by knocking out former UFC middleweight champion Luke Rockhold in a boxing match. Both men have found success outside the UFC, but for Holloway, that path simply doesn't make sense. During a recent stream on his Kick channel, a fan asked whether he would ever consider stepping into the bare-knuckle ring, and Holloway didn't mince words. "I ain't never gonna do bare-knuckle fighting, that's the most stupidest thing ever in the world," he said bluntly, shaking his head at the idea. "When I'm retired, I'm retired. Maybe do a boxing match, but not a bare-knuckle one. People who do that is next level. People who do power slap, bare-knuckle, you guys are crazy. Actually crazy." It's a very blessed response, part humor, part honesty, and all realism. Holloway has always been a fighter who thrives on skill, precision, and technique rather than unnecessary risk, and the idea of taking repeated bare-knuckle damage clearly doesn't appeal to him. Despite being one of the most decorated strikers in UFC history, famously shouting, "I'm the best boxer in the UFC" mid-fight against Calvin Kattar, Holloway's approach to fighting has always been calculated and smart. His defense, durability, and output make him one of the toughest fighters to ever step into the octagon, but he's never been reckless for the sake of entertainment. The Hawaiian Star's comments also highlight the divide between traditional mixed martial arts and the growing spectacle of bare-knuckle fighting. BKFC has exploded in popularity over the past few years, thanks in large part to the attention brought by names like Perry, Till, and even former UFC champion Conor McGregor, who became a co-owner of the promotion in 2024. McGregor's involvement and star power have helped bring legitimacy and global attention to BKFC, and he's teased the idea of fighting there one day himself. Still, even that level of hype isn't enough to convince Holloway to join in. His disinterest in Power Slap, the controversial slap fighting league also promoted by UFC President Dana White, further reinforces that Holloway is content to keep his fighting legacy rooted in MMA. Power Slap is so nuts. Why would I want to just stand there? You slap me and I slap you? That's actually crazy. His comments drew laughs from fans, but they also underscored his respect for the craft of combat sports, the controlled chaos of MMA, not the pure madness of no-glove striking or open-hand slapping contests. At this point in his career, Holloway has already achieved nearly everything possible in the UFC. He's a former featherweight champion, the current BMF title holder, and one of the most respected fighters in the sport. After his dominant win over Dustin Poirier at UFC 318, Holloway solidified his place among the greats, showing that even in the later stages of his career, he remains a threat to anyone in multiple weight classes. His focus now is on continuing to build that legacy within the octagon, not outside of it. So while bare-knuckle fighting continues to attract more former UFC stars looking for new challenges and paydays, Max Holloway is perfectly happy staying far away from it.
He's already proven himself as one of the most skilled strikers the sport has ever seen, and when his UFC journey ends, he seems more likely to hang up the gloves for good, or maybe, just maybe, try a traditional boxing match for fun. But as for BKFC or Power Slap, in his own words, that's actually crazy.
Mackenzie Dern is set for one of the biggest moments of her career as she prepares to face Virna Jandiroba for the vacant UFC Strawweight Championship in the main event of UFC 321. It's a rematch 5 years in the making, but this time the stakes are far higher. Their first encounter saw Dern come out on top, but both fighters have evolved since then. Jandiroba has sharpened her all-around game, while Dern has matured both technically and mentally, becoming one of the division's most dangerous grapplers and most composed competitors. In the lead-up to the fight, Dern has reflected not only on the rematch, but also on how she measures up against former champion Zhang Weili, who recently vacated her title. Speaking with MMA Fighting, Dern shared her honest assessment of where she stands compared to Weili, acknowledging both her admiration for the former champion and her awareness of her own development. I definitely think that if Weili was champion right now of our division, and I mean, obviously I wouldn't say no to a title shot, but I don't think I'd be ready to fight Weili right now at this moment of my career, you know what I mean? Dern admitted. It's a refreshingly humble perspective from a fighter often praised for her confidence and submission prowess. Dern recognizes that timing and preparation are everything when it comes to competing at the highest level. While she's focused on the challenge immediately in front of her, she's also aware that winning the title could be the catalyst for another level of growth, one that might bring her closer to being ready for a fighter of Weili's caliber. But I do think that if I do win the belt, and then whatever, if we were to fight like at the White House or something in June, I feel like I'd be way more ready and prepared to fight her. I know it's like, okay, it's just like, what, like 6 months or 8 months difference? How much better do you think you're gonna get in 8 months? But I think just winning the belt, there's a confidence part that you get from that, and it's just more training and more time. She was just so dominant in the strawweight division. Dern's comments highlight her respect for Zhang's reign, one marked by explosive performances, elite conditioning, and an evolution that turned her into one of the most complete fighters in the sport. Zhang's mixture of speed, power, and tactical intelligence set a high standard for the division, and Dern knows that reaching that level requires more than technical skill. It demands experience, self-belief, and composure under pressure. Still, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu ace is on the right path. Over the past few years, Dern has dedicated herself to improving her striking and cage control, complementing her world-class ground game with better footwork, defense, and fight IQ. She's been through highs and lows in the octagon, but those experiences have helped her evolve into a more well-rounded, confident athlete. If Dern defeats Jandiroba again and captures the UFC title, it would not only validate her hard work, but also give her the mental boost she believes is essential to face someone like Zhang Weili. Confidence, in her eyes, isn't just about believing you can win, it's about having earned the right to believe it through preparation, experience, and growth. As she heads into UFC 321, Dern's mindset is clear. She's grounded, realistic, and aware of the bigger picture. For now, her focus is entirely on Jandiroba and the opportunity in front of her. But if she emerges as the new strawweight champion, she knows that the next 6 to 8 months could be transformative. The difference between being a contender and being ready to challenge one of the most dominant fighters the division has ever seen.
Michael Venom Page has offered major praise for his countryman Tom Aspinall ahead of his upcoming heavyweight title defense, drawing comparisons between the English champion and all-time great John Jones. This weekend at UFC 321, Aspinall is said to defend his UFC heavyweight title for the first time as the undisputed champion in a highly anticipated main event against Cyril Gane. The bout marks a pivotal moment for both men. Aspinall looks to prove that his reign is only just beginning, while Gane, a former interim champion, will be desperate to reclaim his place among the division's elite after past struggles in championship fights. The heavyweight clash has been billed as a meeting between two of the most technically skilled big men in MMA, both known for their fluid movement and striking finesse that defies their size. However, in the eyes of Michael Venom Page, it's Aspinall who stands apart as a truly unique athlete, one capable of dominating his division in a way that few champions ever have. In an interview with TNT Sports, Page expressed full confidence that Aspinall possesses the tools, mindset, and versatility to take over the heavyweight landscape in the same dominant fashion that Jon Jones once did at light heavyweight. "I'm a fan of Cyril Gane as well," Page admitted. "I just feel like Tom Aspinall is the next generation of the same thing we saw the likes of Jon Jones doing in terms of the dominant fashion that he took over his division. I feel like the same thing is going to happen with Tom Aspinall." For Page, the comparison is not merely about talent, it's about the way Aspinall carries himself inside the octagon. Much like Jones did during his prime, Aspinall blends athleticism, technique, and fight IQ to create problems for opponents in every area of the game. Whether striking on the feet or grappling on the mat, he has shown an ability to finish fights quickly and decisively, a quality that Page believes will set him apart for years to come. Page went on to explain why he sees Aspinall as a generational athlete. He pointed out that both Gane and Aspinall share a light-footed style rarely seen among heavyweights, but he feels that Aspinall's approach carries more danger. Cyril Gane has a little bit of a bounce to him as well. I just don't think he's got the same snap and power that Tom Aspinall has, as well as the ground game, although you probably won't see it in this fight. I feel like he could get a knockout in this fight. Page's analysis reflects the growing sentiment among analysts and fans that Aspinall's speed and precision give him a unique edge even among the top contenders in the division. Aspinall's journey to the top has been a rapid one. Since joining the UFC, he has built a reputation for finishing fights early, often overwhelming his opponents with crisp boxing combinations, powerful counters, and perfectly timed takedowns. His ability to maintain composure under pressure has also drawn comparisons to Jones, whose calmness and adaptability allowed him to dominate for years. Aspinall's rise was temporarily halted in 2022 due to a severe knee injury suffered against Curtis Blades, but his recovery and subsequent comeback have only added to his mystique. In his return bouts, he showed no signs of rust, dispatching elite opposition with clinical precision to claim the heavyweight crown. Now, as he prepares to defend his title for the first time, expectations are sky high. Cyril Gane, known for his technical striking and movement, is widely considered one of the most skilled heavyweights on the roster. But his past title challenges against Francis Ngannou and Jon Jones raised questions about his ability to handle elite grapplers and powerful punchers. Page believes that Aspinall's combination of speed, raw power, and ground control could prove too much for the Frenchman to overcome. For Page, who has built his own legacy as one of the most dynamic strikers in mixed martial arts, the rise of Aspinall represents a new era for British MMA. Fighters like Michael Bisping and Leon Edwards have already shown that champions from the UK can thrive on the global stage. But Aspinall's skill set, blending boxing fundamentals with agility and technical precision, may push the boundaries of what is possible in the sport's heaviest division. That style at heavyweight is unseen, Page emphasized. It's not just about size or power anymore. Tom's showing that heavyweights can move and think like middleweights while still finishing fights with devastating force.